Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's great to see all of you here. Before I begin my opening statement, I would first like to introduce a few critical members of the American Legion family. I ask the following people to please stand if able and be recognized. The American Legion national officers who are serving with me this year. Our distinguished American Legion past national commanders. Kathy Dungan, president of the nation's largest patriotic women's organization, the American Legion Auxiliary. Past national presidents of the American Legion Auxiliary. Greg Gibbs, National Commander of the Sons of the American Legion. Past National Commanders of the Sons of the American Legion. And for the rest of us, we are Team 100! Thank you. Good morning, Chairman Takano, Chairman Isaacson, ranking members Tester and Rowe, members of the House and Senate Committees on Veterans Affairs, and distinguished others among us. Thank you for the opportunity to discuss the American Legion's legislative priorities with you. I also would like to thank Congressman Higgins, a former member of this committee, for his kind introduction, for his military and law enforcement service, and for being a member of the American Legion. During the last Congress, these two committees played a pivotal role in the passage of the most significant veterans health care legislation in many years, the VA Mission Act. It was aptly titled. While there's still much work to be done regarding implementation, let me tell you about our mission. Mission is a word that we take very seriously, something that has been forged into us since our first day of military training. It is an inner fortitude that tells us that no matter what it takes, we will accomplish the task at hand. It is synonymous with being a veteran. We have seen this clearly demonstrated by the men and women of the U.S. Coast Guard, who, despite its stoppage of pay, continued to deploy more than 2,000 members a day at sea and ashore. Yet they were treated differently than their DoD counterparts. Pay uncertainty is difficult for everyone impacted, but especially those who, by contract, are required to continue working and risking their lives in an occupation that provides, at best, modest pay. The American Legion did not fall short of our mission in January when, in just a 2-week period, we provided more than $1 million of financial assistance to Coast Guard families with young children. It is times like this, Mr. Chairman, when it's not about what we did, but rather what we do. This is where we hope Congress and the administration can live up to its constitutionally mandated mission to support our military. Whether it's through the Pay Our Coast Guard Act or advanced appropriations for Coast Guard payroll, we should all abide by the Semper Paratus motto, always prepared. Another special population that takes its mission seriously is our nation's law enforcement officers. Last year, 150 of these heroes died in the line of duty, protecting and serving our communities. It's not surprising that many military veterans continue to serve their country through careers in law enforcement. Service before self, even to the point of sacrificing one's life if necessary, is just one of the many commonalities shared between military members and first responders. From an epidemic of opioids to criminal gang activity and domestic terrorism, the life of a law enforcement officer is fraught with danger. We ask Congress to always consider how legislation impacts members of these special communities. Further, there are many constituencies that deserve our support, but none more so than Gold Star families. I'm proud to announce that the American Legion has recently created a full-time staff position dedicated to advocating for the needs of these families whose loss is immeasurable. Again, Mr. Chairman, it's not about what we did, but rather what we do. President Lincoln referred to this loss as, quote, so costly a sacrifice upon the altar of freedom, unquote. And perhaps nothing is more important than preventing the number of Gold Star families from growing. That said, not all of America's war casualties come from enemy bullets. In 2017, the VA reported that the suicide rate among 18 to 24-year-old male Iraq or Afghanistan U.S. war veterans had risen fivefold. For 18 to 29-year-old female veterans, the suicide rate doubled. We also know that PTSD, TBI, and feelings of a loss of purpose or belonging are frequently found among those who attempt such tragic and permanent endings. These feelings and conditions are either preventable or treatable. It must be the mission of every Legionnaire, every veteran, every employee of the DoD and VA, and I might add, every member of Congress, to stop such national tragedies. Simply put, access to timely treatment and quality health care saves lives. In 2017, the American Legion commissioned a report that confirmed what we already suspected. VA performs as well or better than its private sector counterparts in areas such as patient safety, patient satisfaction, care coordination, and innovative medical practices. But we do recognize that geography and specialty care sometimes means the VA is not always the best option for patients. We support the administration's recent announcement that access to veterans' health care providers should be based on actual drive times as opposed to straight-line mileage. Moreover, we agree that veterans should not have to wait more than 20 days for primary care or 28 days for specialty care. The American Legion does not oppose choice, but we adamantly oppose any plan that would gut the best health care system in the country. The central fact remains that nobody understands the unique health care needs of the veteran population better than the professionals at the VA. Further, the VA Mission Act must live up to its mission of serving veterans as opposed to serving private health care providers. To varying degrees, anyone who has personally assisted a close family member through sickness or serious medical conditions understands the challenges facing caregivers. I know I too have experienced this. We welcome the recent expansion of the VA Family Caregiver Program to equalize benefits so that family members providing care for Vietnam and other veterans are on par with those who provide it for members of the post-9/11 generation. However, gaps still exist. Regardless of when a veteran served, even if it was during a period of peace, caregivers still face the same challenges. They sacrifice career, time with others, and often their own health care needs to care for their loved one. The American Legion has always believed that a veteran is a veteran. Our gratitude for their service should not be measured by arbitrary dates, but rather by the simple fact that they swore an oath to defend our nation. It is time that loved ones who are providing care for their veterans achieve equality. And there's another area of equality that the American Legion would like to see addressed. A century ago, our organization was chartered by Congress to serve as the leading voice for the veterans of the Great War. The thinking at the time was that World War I was so horrendous that it was the war to end all wars. As we all know, history proved that it wasn't. Even so, our charter was updated during World War II to reflect the service and sacrifice of that era. Subsequently, our charter and membership eligibility have mirrored the eras officially recognized by the U.S. government to include the wars and conflicts such as Korea, Vietnam, and the global war on terror. However, these recognized periods fail to take into account the hostilities that occur between official eras in which nearly 1,600 U.S. military personnel were either killed or wounded in places like Cuba, Iran, and El Salvador. Because of these frequent engagements, the American Legion calls on Congress to declare what has demonstrably already occurred, that the United States has been continually engaged in a state of war from December 7th, 1941, until such a date in the future that our government may declare an end to all armed hostilities. Congress can provide this recognition by supporting and passing Senate Bill 504, or the Legion Act. The Legion Act will authorize the American Legion to expand our membership eligibility requirements. We sincerely thank Senator Kyrsten Sinema of Arizona for making this the first bill she introduced as a member of the United States Senate. We also thank Senator Tom Tillis of North Carolina for joining Senator Sinema in introducing this bipartisan legislation. The veterans that the Legion Act will recognize have carried out their missions. Now it's our turn. In 16 days, the American Legion will officially turn 100 years old. You've heard me discuss mission quite a bit this morning. That's because the founders of our organization had a post-war mission. Their mission, one that continues today, was to care for veterans, provide patriotic youth programs, advocate for a strong national defense, and instill pride about what it means to be American. It's not just what the American Legion did, it's what we do. It's tempting to say mission accomplished, but that implies that our work is done. It's not. So I prefer to say mission still being accomplished, and I invite all members of Congress to join us in the mission to make a better America. Chairman Takano, Chairman Isaacson, ranking members Tester and Rowe, and members of the critical committees, thank you for holding this hearing. Thank you for all that you do for our nation's veterans and families. And thanks also to your amazing and talented staff. Mr. Chairman, I would happily answer any questions you may have, but I'd like to let you know that I am blessed to have sitting with me some subject matter experts who are available, and in the event that they can answer a question better than I can, I will defer to them with your permission. Thank you.